my gosh. Breaking news. It's over. I said it's over. Canelo versus Caleb Plant. The talks are finito. The fight's not happening next. According to the latest ESPN report, the fight is over. I'm going to talk about it. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Listen, throw a like on the video. That goes a long way when you guys thumb up the video. Like the video if you're enjoying the content, so others can be notified of the content when I drop. I cover everything boxing. My name is Ego. I am your host. This is your one-stop shop for all your boxing needs. Link in the description. I report some bad news. ESPN says sources, the deal for an undisputed fight between Canelo Alvarez, payday, you want payday, I know that, and Caleb Plant is now 100% dead. You heard it. D-E-A-D, it's dead, it's over. If Canelo plans to still fight September 18th, he'll need to secure a foe and platform quickly. BIVOL title tilt on DAZN is a possibility. Now, this is a horrible look for Canelo Alvarez. Like I told you guys, I think they've tried to peg Canelo as the Mexican Mayweather, but he's not in multiple ways. Skills. But in this particular video, I want to focus on his inability to secure the fights that he says he wants. Like, the whole point of Canelo suing Golden Boy and becoming a free agent was so he had the flexibility to bounce around, move around, and fight whom he pleased, right? Unfortunately, Ego Stradamus strikes again, and this is one of the situations where I hate to be right. Canelo Alvarez, I told you guys, I think he's a diva. Great fighter, but he's a diva, meaning he has a lot of demands, a lot of requests, and this can be problematic in making the fight. Canelo is, I hate to say vain, but maybe that's a good word, vain, and he wants everything his way and stuff like that. Now, I don't have a problem with A side, B side. Everybody knows that Canelo Alvarez is the A side over most people not named Floyd Mayweather, definitely over Caleb Plant. But here's the problem. You have Canelo radical fans who are spreading this false gospel about Caleb Plant wanted too much money. But if you read into this and watch my prior videos or research on your own, money wasn't even the issue that is reported that broke this thing up. Caleb Plant signed on for his portion of this fight 2 weeks ago. So that's how I could tell a lot of these Canelo fans don't know what they're talking about, and they're just running off at the mouth, and they have not done any research. So I advise you, subscribe to the channel so you get the latest and greatest, so you really know what's going on. Caleb Plant already signed on for his portion of the fight. He didn't have any grievances. He wasn't angry. He was okay with everything, his portion of the contract. And if you listen to his particular count of events, he literally and specifically told you that him and PBC did everything that Canelo wanted, and then Canelo would come out and find more things and more details that he wanted to change. And then one by one, they would go through these various details and detailed talking points, and Canelo would find something else, or his team, whatever you want to call it, right? His team would find other things. And this has been highly reported. Some of the demands became a bit extreme per Caleb Plant. Like, there was a clause in there, should Caleb Plant get sick, you know, we're living in a time of pandemic. Should Caleb Plant get sick with the Rona or just a regular illness so he couldn't fight in September, right? Should he get injured? They were saying that Canelo wanted the same guaranteed money for any opponent that was brought in as a replacement. So instead of just doing like what Wilder and Fury Part 3 did, when Fury allegedly got sick, they just pushed the whole card back, all the undercard, or most of the undercard, because some of the other fights have just been put on other cards. But the main heavyweight fights that people were looking forward to, and then of course the main event, Deontay the Bronze Bomber Waddle from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Oh my God, that fight versus Tyson Fury, they just pushed it back October 9th. That's already in stone, and it is what it is. But what he's saying, what Canelo is saying, is he was guaranteed a career high $40 million to go to PBC, right? Including some of the live gate, I don't know his percentage, some of the live gate, some of the back end, some of the distribution and Mexico rights and all that. So he would have made more money than that when it all said and done. And it would have been for all the belts at super middleweight, right? But Caleb Plant says, and he says he has the paperwork to prove it, that Canelo wanted, if Caleb Plant got sick or injured for any reason, a replacement opponent for September 18th with the exact same money, which is ridiculous. Why would PBC, instead of just postponing it again, like they did with Wilder Fury, a big event for Undisputed, Canelo on Fox pay-per-view, why wouldn't they just push it back to a date that accommodates? Because, you know, Caleb Plant says he wants the opportunity. I doubt he hasn't showed a propensity to fake injuries or fake sicknesses or pull out of fights. And it's so funny because old media, they take this, and since Caleb Plant is assigned to Louis de Cuba and a black advisor and Al Heyman, right? They put stuff like that on Caleb, which he doesn't have a history of doing that. He don't have a history of pulling out fights. Meanwhile, old media won't talk about the actual person who does have a history of backing out of fights and postponing and getting injured and getting sick, like Tyson Fury. So it's just ironic how that works. Let's keep going. So that would be ridiculous. Instead of just moving the event, Canelo wants to fight a substitute opponent. Let's say Caleb Truax, Porky Medina, just some guy, random guy that they could manifest in short time, and he wanted the same $40 million guarantee. So Fox is willing to dish out that type of dough because the fight is undisputed for all the marbles, and it was going to be on Fox pay-per-view. If, or should that be subject to change because someone got injured or hurt, right? Why would they be on the hook and like, oh, we still got to give you $40 million for a much lesser opponent where a guy doesn't have any belts? Because the only two people remaining in the whole division with belts are Caleb Plant and Canelo Alvarez, right? So he would be fighting a non-champion for $40 million plus all the other stuff they negotiated. It's not, that doesn't make sense. And then to top that off, it is also reported by ESPN that Canelo wanted it one way. He wanted a one-way rematch clause, which he's done before. If he loses, he gets the opportunity to rematch it. But if Golovkin or if Caleb Plant, he did it for the Golovkin fight, if they lose, which Golovkin did lose in the second fight, he has no options on Canelo. So little mind ucks and trickery and stuff like that. And then back to the sick or injured thing, the sick or injury clause. Canelo Alvarez wants it one way. So if Caleb were to get sick, he wants a replacement opponent and the same exact money, despite whoever the substitute late terms opponent is, as opposed to just pushing the whole event back till everybody's able to compete for Undisputed. Doesn't make sense. And he wanted it one way. Canelo Alvarez only wanted it to benefit him, where if he says if he got sick or if he got injured, then Caleb Plant and the PBC would have to wait for him. So imagine that. If Canelo contracted COVID or got sick or broke his hand or broke his ankle, then Caleb Plant will be contractually bound to only fight and can't fight nobody until Canelo heals, until he's ready. I mean, come on, bro. That just sounds crazy, because let's say he got injured. Let's say he broke his foot. Let's say it's spinal. Like, you know what I'm saying? Whatever happened to him. He broke his hand, he broke his foot, ACL tear. I mean, anything can happen in a training camp. You know, I don't believe this is my personal opinion. I don't believe some of the people who claim that they got the Rona. I don't think all those people really had the Rona. I think people use the Rona. So no matter what, he can delay the event. He can do it. And everybody got to wait for him. But if the same thing were to happen to Caleb Plant, then he just wants to fight a B opponent, a substitute opponent, which would be probably easy work, some just guy that they could get last minute, you know, and it would be a non-champion for the same money. I mean, just tell me how this is supposed to work, guys. Boom. We got action. So this is an excerpt from ESPN. And Caleb Plant says one of the demands from Canelo that was absurd. If I get injured or sick, then Canelo gets a late replacement for the same amount of guaranteed money, which is $40 million. But if Canelo gets sick or injured, then we got to wait for him, Plant added. He says, we're about 7.5 weeks from the fight. We've lost valuable time that should have been spent promoting and drug testing for the fight. Canelo's making it very hard to support him, despite how great of a fighter he is, because that's the other issue is drug testing. Canelo used to be, after he failed a drug test with clenbuterol, on year-round drug testing. Now he continues to have these fights that super close to, and this is after the WBC raised the amount of clenbuterol that you can even have your assistant in your system. And now all of his negotiations, or several negotiations, since he's been on DAZN, are down to the wire, and it's not really given the proper time that you would expect for such a massive fight. For example, Errol Spence, Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao was the first person to announce the fight, right? And as of me recording the video that you guys are listening, it's the end of July 29th. I remember Pacquiao announcing the fight. So let's see how long. Look at all these posts he's had since the announcement. Look, all these posts. There's the original announcement. So Pacquiao announced the fight May 21st, right? May 21st, and today is July 29th. So look at how much time they've announced the fight. May 21st to July 29th, right? How many days? May 21st, 2021 to July 29th, 2021. So 69 days. 69 days has been the amount of time, almost 70 days. We'll just round up to 70, right? 70 days we've known that Pacquiao was fighting Spence. So they had 70. So Errol Spence had plenty of time to prepare. Pacquiao had plenty of time to prepare. They're enrolled in VADA, so they have plenty of time to test, you know. Canelo's just always down to the wire. Right? So that's basically 2.5 months. I just did the math for you. Basically, we've known about it for almost 2.5 months, right? 2 months, 3 weeks, whatever. Right? But Canelo's fight, he wants to fight September 18th, allegedly, and it's July 29th as of me recording this video. So July 29th, 2021 to September 18th, 2021. How many days between? Okay, let's try it this way. So, what is it? Okay, so that's today's date, September. Oh, I see how they're doing it. September 18th. So with Canelo, we don't even know who he's fighting, and there's 51 days from now. So Canelo continues to push it down to the wire. Like Caleb Plant is saying, this is precious time that they could have been doing drug testing and promoting the fight. So this is just a bad look. Canelo's supposed to be the face of boxing and get anything he wants, but conveniently the fight doesn't happen, right? And the fight falls apart. So you guys can say whatever you want. This keeps happening to Canelo Alvarez, Manny Pacquiao, Errol Spence. They're not constantly having to explain to the fans why they're not in big or good fights that the fans want to see. The BIVOL fight is very little interest to me. Canelo lied again, said he wanted to be undisputed at 160. Then he moved up to 175. No one told him to do that. And he said he wanted to be undisputed at 168. And in both occasions, he's been one belt away from undisputed. And conveniently, when he could have just fought Demetrius Andrade at 160, the fight doesn't happen to fight a washed up Kovalev, which look FAF. Now he said he wanted to be undisputed yet again, and he's one click away, one belt away, and he got himself out of his Golden Boy contract. He's a free agent, so he can roam around and work with PBC. They've accommodated. He won a multi-fight deal, and there's a lot of people lying. They were saying, oh, it's a multi-fight deal. They positioned and petitioned initially a multi-fight deal, but Canelo said he didn't want it, so PBC adjusted and offered him a one-fight deal for more money than he's receiving in his career. $40 million guaranteed. So there's a lot of people lying, saying Caleb Plant priced himself out. A lot of people lying, saying that the multi-fight deal was what ruined it, and it's not. It was these other little chintzy demands from Canelo, and they're running out of time now. So enjoy BIVOL on DAZN. I don't care. I'm not buying that fight, period. Let me know what you guys think. Use my link to get TUBEBUDDY. We work.